Hello and welcome back for another Monday. This is Tara with Love Prevails. I have my new friend Scott here to talk to us a little bit about his sobriety journey. How are you, Scott?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Good. I'm really glad that you agreed to do this today. I'm really excited to hear your story about sobriety. Scott, what I'm doing with these videos is I'm introducing my company, Love Prevails. And at Love Prevails, we offer intervention support, peer support services for people and their families that are struggling with addiction. There's a lot of people out there that either know that they are struggling with addiction but not ready to get help, and a lot of families that are watching them that feel lost and alone and don't know where to turn. And so with Love Prevails, we are giving, our goal is to give hope and to assist these families through their journey, because it is a difficult one. So I'm really glad that you agreed to do this. What you got planned this weekend?
Oh, not a ton.
No?
No, it was a tough week. So you're the highlight. This is the highlight of my weekend, people.
That's awesome.
Probably watch the basketball game, the Nuggets playoff game today, and do a little house stuff, but that's about it. So
You're a Broncos fan?
I sure am.
Yeah.
Lifelong.
Lifelong?
Yeah, lifelong.
Me too.
Yeah.
Me too. And I know that it's been a while since they've won a Super Bowl, but I'm a Colorado native. I've been born and raised, and my mom's family's all Colorado natives, and so I'm not so much a Rockies follower, but I do follow.
It's hard to do.
Yeah, I do. I love their stadium.
Yeah, everybody likes. They're fun games. They're fun to go to, but
and it's a great concert venue.
Yeah,
But I'm not a huge fan of them. But I do.
Yeah.
I'll follow the Denver Broncos forever, and I love the vintage.
Yes, yeah. I'm glad they brought this back.
Yeah.
Most of my memories are that one.
Mine too.
Okay,
Mine too. Yeah. My dad was a diehard Bronco
Yeah.
fan. Win or lose, diehard.
Yeah. That's me, diehard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, it sounds like you've got a pretty laid back weekend, which are always, in my opinion, they can be the best weekends ever.
Oh yeah. Yep. I agree.
So I'm really glad that you're doing this video with me. And a lot of what I like to talk about is what brought you into sobriety. There's a lot of people out there. I was one of them where it never crossed my mind that alcoholism was a thing. And it took somebody telling me, but there's some people that they know, they just don't know. They feel like, this is just who they are and this is what their life is going to be like. And others that don't know. So tell me, what brought you into sobriety?
Well, when I was probably when I was about 15, I want to say, I wasn't going to touch alcohol. My mom was alcoholic, and I watched the fights between mom and dad, and I just had nothing to do with it until I drank it. Some guy was in our basement. My sister brought home these friends sometimes, and I'd go downstairs, and this guy had a bottle. He goes, "You want some?" And I took it was whiskey, and I drank the whiskey. And but the next thing I remember, I drank so much, I was throwing up, and my mom shaking me, "You're drunk." And I was like, next day I'm never going to touch that stuff again. And then being my friends, we like to party. So in 9th grade and into high school, the smoking of weed and marijuana were prevalent, other drugs at times. But by the time I was in high school, I knew that I really liked alcohol. It made me feel like I fit in for the first time. I was always shy or afraid, kind of, almost like I would have just a couple friends, but I wasn't part of a group because of anxiety. And I when alcohol got in me, that went away.
Yeah.
So I really liked, it was a social lubricant, probably the best social lubricant ever. And back then it was just, pretty much weekend parties. It was where's the party, every weekend, cake parties and such. And then I didn't realize I was alcoholic and probably till later in my 20s, I want to say. I would say, so if there was a line that you cross, I think maybe from the start I always had the craving where I kept drinking. Once I started, I thought I just liked to party. But when sometime probably about 28, I crossed this line where all of a sudden I needed it. I wasn't drinking because I wanted it, I needed it. And I started shaking a little bit in the morning, and I was married at the time. I had a young son, and I would hide it. And I started hiding it. So I stopped drinking in the open and started drinking in secret. Now, my wife was okay with me drinking, but she did not like it when I drank vodka, and vodka is what I like to drink. So I would hide it, and I would hide it in the car, and I'd hide it around the house and all that fun stuff. And at that time, I knew that wasn't normal behavior, because I don't think regular drinkers need to hide their liquor.
No.
They probably keep it out, maybe even have a bar,
Yeah.
you know, in the house, but I didn't do that. So there was something amiss, and then that caused problems in my marriage, because I was lying and the secretiveness, and then when she would go to bed at night, I would sneak out and get the rest of the bottle I had hid in my car and finish it. And of course, I'd sleep on the couch because she might smell me, and then that caused more tension in the marriage. And eventually, that was coming to an end. And I always look back on that, and I know I am where I am, and I can't change that past. But would she have stayed if I would have wanted to do something about it then? I shouldn't say wanted. I wanted to do something, but I couldn't.
Yeah.
I was already past that line. When I'd stop on my own or promise I'd never do it again, I didn't have the power, so I'd keep doing it again. And that led to a really bad car accident I got into. I was drunk on a Christmas party, and I think I was 30 years old at this time, and I got off I-25 and went straight into a light pole on the other side of at I-25 in Hampton. It's a real bad accident. I was so drunk I don't remember getting behind the wheel, and the pole hit the right side of this little 81 Subaru, and it pushed the way back into the seat. A passenger probably wouldn't have made it, but if I missed that pole, I would have right onto I-25. If I went on the other side, there's a pretty steep embankment, so probably would have rolled without a seatbelt on. I probably might not have made it. So that pole actually might have saved my life. I know that sounds weird.
Yeah.
But the paramedics pulled me out. There was blood dripping. I was in and out of consciousness. And the odd thing about it is I was drunker than hell, and I didn't get a DUI that night. I had a 19-point ticket, but no alcohol-based ticket. And
was that like a free ticket for you to keep drinking?
yes, I was going to get there. I was scared, and so consequences could keep me sober for a while at times. So I was scared, and I didn't, I thought they were going to get me when I went to court, believe it or not, even though it wasn't on the summons.
Yeah.
So I was paranoid. And bottom line is the 19-point ticket got reduced to 1 by me going to these like 3 classes. And that gave me a thing to go on. But even before that, laying laid up, this is alcoholism. I'm laid up from the accident. Nothing was broken, but because of the impact, I was very sore. I mean, the inside of you slams against your chest, and it's hard to even walk. And my wife went to the my son's little Christmas show, like they have for elementary kids, and I tried to go to the liquor store. While they were out, I figured I had that quick moment to go up and get a bottle of vodka.
No matter how bad you felt.
Yeah, in that time of condition, and I didn't make it, but she caught me, of course. And another time, where I lied and said, I just thought I'd walk around to see if I could walk. And she's like, what the hell are you doing? That was her thing, and I told her a little lie, and eventually we went to a Christmas party right after that, and I got so drunk that I embarrassed her again, and that was it, and she was done.
Wow. And
there was a night where I came home drunk. What started it is this is alcoholism, that insanity, like, I'll show her I'll stay sober. So I did it for a whole Saturday. And then we went to church on Sunday, right? And I tried to put my hand on her leg, and she pushed it off. And that triggered something in me where the anger was just like, I wanted to slam on the brakes and say, get the hell out of the car. But my son was in the car. I took them home, and I went out and just got as drunk as I could.
Right.
Came home. It was a Sunday then. That was the blue law, so you couldn't drink until on Sundays at all. You could buy 3-2 beers, so I went out to the bars that day.
Yeah.
And when I came home, I laid into her like, how dare you treat me like this, throw me out like garbage, and da-da-da. And I really don't remember much what I said. But she picked up the phone. It was a corded phone. Then I ripped the phone cable out of the wall, but the 911 call went through. The police showed up. And that was one of those moments where you sober up like that.
Yeah.
And the multitude of what had happened was, I'm watching her and my son with a bag of stuff be escorted out by one officer while the other one's standing in front of me so I don't do anything. And I broke my heart.
Yeah.
I just broke my heart because the last thing I was going to do was be a poor father because of my upbringing. I wasn't going to be an alcoholic. I wasn't going to get divorced. These were principles that I thought I could hold tight to, and I couldn't because of my drinking.
Right.
And after she left, that gave me that free ticket. Now she's gone, and I really laid into it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I went from about 30 to 33, drinking pretty hard. And then things changed. You know, I at that point in my life, a friend of mine, and my friend's Eric P. And Eric P. still, he's in recovery still. He's been in for a while. Came to my house, and I always kind of like this. That some of you people probably don't know our story of AA, but there's a point in Bill Wilson, our founder's life, where Ebby Thatcher comes to his house, and he's sober. So Eric came to my house, and he was sober, and I'm like, how did he do this?
Yeah.
And it's almost identical, because last I heard, he was about to be committed to Pueblo, not just to rehab, but to Pueblo, because his mom was tired of it, and he had enough high BACs where she deemed him suicide attempts. But instead, he went to a program called Stepping Stones that was around then, and it's sort of it's a long program. It's like a year and a half, and it's about getting off alcohol and then living in their apartments and then eventually getting out on your own. But he was clean. He looked good. He was driving a new truck, and he had these nice cowboy boots on. And, and I had what he wanted, the nice truck and the cowboy boots.
You had what he wanted?
No,
he
had what I wanted.
Yeah.
I wanted to look like him and be like him and have this shiny new truck, but I didn't really know what the sobriety part was about. But if that was the result, I wanted to try it.
Right.
So I went to my first AA meeting, and I'll never forget it. Going into the meeting, my buddy Eric goes like this. He goes, I go, so Eric, how long do we have to do this stuff for? Because I didn't know. And he goes, I got bad news for you. You know, it's a lifetime deal. And right away in my mind, I'm like, not for me.
Yeah, that truck is not shiny enough.
Yeah, not for me. And I had it in my mind that if I went on the wagon for something like a year, that's whatever that popped into my head, I would be okay again to drink without consequences. And I really believed that. So I did hold up to that. I went to AA, and it was mostly social. I didn't get a sponsor. I did, but just didn't name, because in the 90s, this is like 93, everybody, who's your sponsor? Who's your sponsor? So you need to have a name, right? But I did a little of the work, but didn't take it seriously, and I went back out again after, it was about a year and a half.
Okay.
And when I started up, and this is alcoholism again, I had a young son. Alex, right now, my son was about 7 years old. And I sat him down on the couch because he knew I had stopped drinking. And I was like, well, Dad's going to start drinking again. And I believed this when I was telling him this. But it's going to be different this time, because I won't drink vodka. And if I ever start drinking vodka, I'll go right back to AA.
Right.
That's what I believed this. I wouldn't have told him a lie like that. I really believed it at the time, but I didn't have that defense, or that, you know, it was inevitable that I pick up again. I was picking up again, but my mind lied to me and really made me believe that it was only beer this time. So that year had gone by, and now for me that control was drinking only beer.
Right.
And it took about 6 weeks. When I was in a wedding, went to a wedding in Sacramento, California, and I drank enough beer at the wedding to where I got really drunk, and I was shaken the next morning. And that for me was a trigger. The only thing that fixed that was a drink. And here's one of the sick things about alcoholism: is my poison is my medicine.
Yeah.
So my poison got me sick, but my medicine is alcohol to make me feel better, but then it's going to poison me again, and that's that horrible circle. So I was on the way to the airport to drop a guy off and stop. This is like right over the Bay Bridge, heading back to Sacramento. And in California, the liquor was in the little gas stations.
Really?
Yeah, and
Back then it was?
Yeah,
Huh.
yeah. This is in probably 95.
Wow.
90. Yeah, that's about right. 96 actually, probably 96-ish. And I looked at the shelf of vodka, and I go, your problem wasn't vodka, it was the cheap vodka.
Right.
So I bought Absolute vodka, made absolute sense at the time. I had gone full circle.
Right.
And never said a word to my son.
Yeah.
So when I look back on that, that probably broke his little heart.
Mm-hmm.
Here's Dad passing out again on him, and he found me passed out in my bed, on the toilet once. He knew, and it was hard.
Yeah.
But it took what it took, and by the time I was 37, my liver was giving out. I had alcoholic hepatitis. I was yellow with jaundice. It starts around your eyes, and I was like, "Are my eyes turning yellow?" Nah, it's just the light in here.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm on the computer back then. The computer, you still had the older modems and stuff.
Yeah.
But you get online, and I'm reading about liver issues, and I have a bottle of vodka next to me, and I'm doing shots of vodka while I'm reading about liver issues.
Right.
And I'm reading about cirrhosis and hepatitis and turning yellow and all that kind of stuff, and I was like, nah.
That's the insanity.
Yeah, it's just the light in here.
Yeah.
It's just, I don't look yellow now. And then what ended up happening is I woke up. I got really sick the night before, throwing up because the bile now was backing up in my system. So what happens when your liver gets inflamed, the bile ducts get cut off, and that bile needs somewhere to go, and that's why you're yellow. The bile's yellow, and now you're yellow. And then you have to throw it up because your body's like, get rid of this stuff. So anyway, I tried to go to work that day. Again, this is the insane part. I felt okay. I didn't look very good.
Right.
And I stopped at Vitamin Cottage to get some liver health vitamins, because that's all I needed was some liver health vitamins, and I'll be fine, And I got to work, and he's like, you need to go to the doctor right now. And I did, and the doctor was like, do you know how you got here? And I think it's my drinking. He says, well, I'll test you for all hepatitis, like type A, B, C, and so on. But I had alcoholic hepatitis. I drank so much, my liver became so inflamed that I ended up getting hepatitis. And he told me, straight up, that this is real bad. This is a serious deal. He said I would not live to be 40 if I kept drinking. He said, we're going to monitor you. They had to do ultrasounds, blood tests, and all that really tight for a while. And then in a while that wore off. I turned normal color again. And 6 weeks later, I met a girl. I was watching my brother's band play in a bar. I go, I'm already back at the bar, and I'm not supposed to be drinking. The doctor said, and a 6-pack of beer would make this day go a lot better. So I stopped by my little liquor store, and I remember it, 6-pack of Low and Barrel on the counter, and why don't you throw in a half pint of vodka? Because that was that gonna hurt, right? So here I am. I told I'll die if I keep drinking, and 6 weeks later I'm going again.
Yeah.
That's the disease, and I was hospitalized several times. I went until I was 37 now, so I went about another year, and I was 38 and some change when I ended up losing my job because of my drinking. I ended up unemployable. Every interview I went to, I wasn't drinking, but I was shaking so bad and sweating.
And probably the smell.
Oh yeah, it wasn't good. So I really was, I had hit a place where I'd never been before, and that I couldn't even, I hadn't worked since I was 15. I couldn't even work now. And the bottom was getting near. During that time, my son, during one of those times, little kids in elementary school make crayon drawings, and one of his drawings was this boat we had. It was a red boat and this water skier on the back. That was me. And then the sun's up, the big bright with the kid drawing sun, and a couple other ones. One was a big truck he drew, and these were ripped down off the wall when I woke up. I had them all on my wall, and I was like, what the hell happened? I get up, and the back screen door had been kicked in, and he was gone. He went back to his mother's because I was passed out again, and he was done.
Wow.
That didn't make me stop. So these horrible consequences, these horrible things that happened weren't enough. I can't tell you what happened the day that I stopped, but I remember it. I will for the rest of my life. And I walked into my bedroom this is right after Thanksgiving. The house was a disaster. Somehow I managed to pull off dinner, and my alcoholic family came over. And I looked in the mirror, and I've looked in the mirror many times, but this time I caught myself, and I saw my eyes, and they were dead.
Wow.
They were dead eyes, and oh my God. You know, I didn't have a soul. This thing had not only brought me down here, you know, with all the stuff that happened, but it had robbed from me that sparkle in me, that thing that made me.
Right.
I was just a body drinking. That was it.
It's like a shell of a human.
Yeah, and I go, God, I can't do this anymore.
Right.
You know, I need help. And I prayed to God that day. I asked God, I need help. I did have a 3rd edition big book from '96 that made it into a drawer, and I knew where it was. I knew what I had to do. This is weird. That seed got planted. So that was 1997, I think, when I went in '96.
Mm-hmm.
Now we're up at 2001, and I still have that book.
Wow.
So something inside me said, you might need this someday. And I lay down in bed. I knew I was about to be very sick. I couldn't go to the hospital because I didn't have insurance anymore from losing my job. And the movie Pay It Forward came on, and I couldn't find my remote. And that movie, if you haven't seen it, it's an alcoholic man, and he's got a little boy, or a woman, and a little boy that's about the age of my son.
Mm-hmm.
And she's hiding her liquor all over the place, like me hiding my liquor all over the place. And the son is, you know, he's, you know, going through what my son was going through. And I thought that was God literally talking to me that day. And I think and I still believe that. And I think that was that moment.
Right.
That moment that I really felt like I really was ready to do something about it this time. And I'll do whatever I have to do, but I don't want this anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And I went back to AA. It was a Friday. I'd been so sick I couldn't leave the house for a couple days. I quit on a Monday. And so by Friday I got out of the house still shaky, and I was pretty, you know, I wasn't throwing up anymore, and I was able to probably do a little bit of soup.
So you did this all on your own? You didn't go to rehab?
No, I didn't. Not this time. No, this was all on my own. But I went to Day by Day, and this would be my home group. This was down in Inglewood at the time, 3419 South Lincoln. I still remember.
Yeah.
It ain't there anymore. I think the club is, but they've moved it a few times. And it was a speaker meeting that night, and the guy who was speaking sounded a lot like me. You know, waking up in the middle of the night, and he would go to the garage and get his bottle, and you know, he was a vodka drinker, and I was like, wow. After the meeting, a guy, Sean, came up to me, and Sean's no longer with us, but he was really cool. He said, hey, I'm Sean, you're the new guy, you know, welcome, here's your AA survival kit. He goes, you have a big book? And I go, yeah. But he gave me a schedule and a phone list. And he said, if you're thinking about drinking, pick this up and call somebody till they answer.
Mm-hmm.
And then read this book. And if that doesn't work, take a walk. But not to the liquor store, but take a walk. And then he said, if that doesn't work, take this schedule and get to a meeting somewhere. You'll find one.
Wow.
And that was my AA survival kit. And I remember all this. And I remember leaving. I entered with little to no hope, and I left with hope. And there was enough hope to go back the next day. And I did.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now
That started my journey in AA.
You said a couple things that I think a lot of people can relate with. The first thing you said is that when you were young, you know, the alcohol brought you out of your shell, and I had a similar, and that's such a common thing.
Oh, yeah.
Is that people that are shy, they have trouble, you know, making friends, communicating, and the alcohol just like changes that all instantly. And I was the same way. I grew up in a very sheltered environment, went to a Christian school. It was very, very small. There wasn't a lot of people. And I grew up, I had zero friends, ever. And I was very isolated. And it wasn't, you know, in my 20s, I had met a girl in church, and she took me to have my first party and stuff, and I was socially awkward I still can be a little socially awkward. But once I started drinking, and I can remember my first beer that I ever had. I had wine coolers here, 1 or 2 here before that. Well, the first beer I ever had, I went to this party, and she's kicking me, drink it. And hours I nursed this beer, and it was warm, and I remember it was horrid. And then after that, I got a taste for it. I loved it, but it was when I started drinking that I started making friends. I was popular for the first time in my life. I went from being completely alone to finally I was popular. People liked partying with me. I could hold my alcohol. I was fun. And then when I didn't drink again, I went through a period of time where I didn't drink. And I went back to being very isolated for years and socially awkward. And so that's a very common theme with a lot of people. It just changes you. And it makes you, it opens up a side of you that you don't even know exists. And that's just, like, it just, that it opens you up. And for you know, what's to come next, as sad as, you know, and it doesn't happen to everybody, but, and then you had mentioned something else about your addiction when you're having the issues with your wife at the time, and you know, she swatted your hand away or whatever, and you drink. Did you feel like it was her fault?
Oh yeah.
And you were drinking at her, and it's your fault that I'm like this because because you treated me that way. Yeah,
I pointed my finger quite a bit. I often joke, I'm surprised I still have a pointer finger.
Yes.
I never saw the 3 pointing back, but I blamed everybody for everything.
And I think that that's very common too. And I did the same thing. I drank at people, and I think that that's a very common theme that a lot of people, until you reach a point where you realize, and it takes a lot of work, when you reach a point where you realize, I'm like this because of my choices, not because somebody made me. And that was one of the hardest things for me to come to terms with, because I lived as a victim for a lot of years. These people did this to me, and that's why I am the way I am. And that was a hard thing for me to come to terms with, is being able to let that feeling of being a victim away and finding me and taking my power back, and not allowing these people to have that control. So I think that that's really a powerful thing, because that keeps a lot of people sick. I'm like this because of this. And when you finally are able to take your power back, it's pretty empowering. It's very freeing. And not every, I mean, you have a pretty traumatic story. I mean, that's a lot. And not everybody has to go. I mean, God forbid anybody have to go through that to figure out they're an alcoholic. But sometimes it does take that before it happens. And so you're very fortunate, it sounds like, to even be here today. Oh yeah, there's many times I feel that way. So anyway, there's more. Sorry. So I go into AA, I get a sponsor, I do the work. This is the quick version. The fellowship was huge. I was a DJ for that group, and I DJ'd some other AA dances around. So I did weddings, and it was funny how this little thing at Day by Day turned into even a paying thing. And so life is as good as it gets, right? I meet a woman, her name is Julie, and her and I, you know, boy meets girl, fall in love, and I get married again. And Julie and I are just right for each other, because we're both in the program and we're both working it. We're both doing awesome. Until something happened. My sponsor died. The Day by Day, to preface, was a smoking meeting still. All the other meetings pretty much had gone non-smoking. I didn't smoke, but I just loved the place. And but Julie did, my wife. And what happened was, when he died, I didn't get a new sponsor, so I lost some accountability. The Day by Day group, because a lot of the elders were dying, not you know, from drinking, dying sober, but from smoking. So lives were being cut short by the smoking, which is bad as well. And the group kind of fell apart, and I didn't replace the home group. I became homeless in AA. I had lost my accountability, and I drank again. I had almost 13 years. Wow. After 12 years of sobriety.
And I said it this morning. I chaired a meeting this morning, a Zoom meeting online, and so I said this. If you asked me the day before, there were 10 of us in a room, and you said, all of us had 12 years, and one of you's going to drink tomorrow, I'd be looking at the other 11.
Right.
Oh, maybe him, maybe it's her, but it ain't me.
Mm-hmm.
That's how it is. And when I picked up again, I quit right away, but that opened up something in my mind that really, really kept me down. And I'm just going to kind of fast forward through this point. Put together 2 years, relapsed again. Oh, wow. Put together another 2 years and a little more and relapsed again. By the time I got into, it was right before COVID, I had really almost had a nervous breakdown at work. Anxiety was just killing me. I was just so anxious all the time. I didn't realize at the time, but my anxiety wasn't, it wasn't a medical condition like I thought. It was a spiritual dilemma for me. I was caught, all the fear and all the stuff that I was going through was causing me massive physical issues. Wow. And it got to the end. I went to Parker Valley Hope. There's my first rehab. At this time, I'm in my 50s. So I didn't go to rehab till I'm in my 50s. And then I got out of Parker Valley Hope. I did pretty well. And then 8 months later, I'm back in Parker Valley Hope. And I woke up in their little detox room, and how the hell did I end up getting back here? And this was the time I lost my job again because of drinking. I was on unemployment. I ended up in Denver Cares one night, and that's a yet. These are yets. These are things I never saw. Right. And Denver Cares is a pretty scary place. Yeah. But I ended up there. I'd never end up there. I'd been there on the other side, bringing a meeting in, but not that side. Another detox out in Aurora, in and out of the hospital several times. Denver Health detox, I think one night. It got really bad. And then I ended up, this is how it all ended. On March 6th is my 4th birthday. I've been in AA, you've heard, 1996 is when I came in. That math doesn't really work out. Right. But it all came to a head. I was drinking myself to death probably. And my wife's son came in and found me in the room. My wife had left, and I was in the room all by myself, and I guess I was in pretty bad shape. He called the paramedics. I guess I mentioned I didn't want to live anymore, so they kept me. Swedish hospital kept me, and what happened when they first take you in, they give you some drugs, they kind of help you out, but I wanted to get out of there, and I was being a jerk. Right. I wanted to drink. I just, get me out. You don't have no right to hold me, blah, 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 and I'm doing all this. And I hadn't really had God in my life. God was always there, but that conscious contact wasn't for quite a while. And all of a sudden it was like this: hey, do you realize this is probably your last chance? Instead of giving these people a hard time, why don't you start your recovery in here? Right. Echoed like a yell at me, like a parent type of a voice. And the very next morning I got on a Zoom meeting in my hospital gown. And it was Dragon's Den, my home group right now. And I started doing, the Orchard Club was my afternoon one. Okay. This is post-pandemic, so it was, meetings were just starting to open up again. So I did these 2 Zoom meetings every day. I got out of there. It turned out I got hired back at my job. They liked me. They didn't like my disease. So I'm back at my same job that I started in 2001 when I got sober. That was another gift of when I got in there. 3 weeks later, I got a job. This is the same job, really. Right. And in these last 4 years, I probably have done more work on myself than I ever have in my life. My wife didn't make it. She started drinking, and we're in the midst of a divorce. And I tried. And I can't, here's the thing, you can't help somebody that doesn't want to be helped. Right. You can help somebody that wants to want to be helped, but not somebody that doesn't. Right. And no matter how much you love them, or no matter how much you care for them, it's best to let them go. Yeah. And that's what I have to do. And it's hard, but that's where I'm at now in life. Sobriety is number one in my life now. I sponsor people. I attend meetings regularly. My sobriety is strong. And I play in a band. I play in a band called Next Step. We're all in recovery. Our main gig is at the Sober Underground in
Really?
Littleton, Colorado.
I've never been. I need to go visit it.
It's Mary Brewer. She does Mary Hope's ministry, and she does Sobriety Houses and also New Beginnings Recovery Center is her. So she's big in doing recovery, and she built that for that place. So they bring a couple van loads of people that are in rehab and bring them down on Friday nights, and it's a lot of fun. And that's turned into other shows as well. But I got back into my music now in sober, and I'm playing in a group, which helps me a lot.
Yeah.
I'm not an isolator anymore. That's what the disease wants.
Yeah.
You know, I withdraw, I isolate, and I shut down. That's the disease. That's, if it gets you, that's what it wants.
Yeah.
And today, that's not the case. You know, it's not, everything isn't roses. It's not great, but I can get through anything sober. I know that today. And I know I don't have to do it alone.
Right.
Because for years, when I had a problem, I have to go through this alone. And I don't do that anymore.
Right.
And that's helped me a ton. Like this divorce and other stuff I go into. I bring other people in, and they walk with me, along with my higher power, which I call God.
That's awesome.
And that's it. That's that. Now you're up to date on my sobriety journey.
I wasn't trying to cut you off, so I do apologize for that.
No problem. You didn't know. That was it.
No, you have a great
Because
story.
it was a good run. You know,
Yeah.
and one of the things too that got me in trouble was that time, that time lost. And I would say, I would have this much sobriety, I would have this. And I don't do that anymore.
Yeah.
I am so proud of these 4 years that I have, and the work I've done, and the work I'm able to, helping others, what I've been able to do to give back. More in this 4 years than that whole stretch. So it's more quality, it's not the quantity. But it's a hell of a lot more quality.
Is that why you
For
stay? Is because of the quality of life?
I stay in AA because that's where God wants me, and I truly believe that. I believe I can help other alcoholics, like the big book says, more than anyone. I'm more qualified, and I want to help my fellows. I want to help. I feel that I kind of look at my God as my father, because I didn't have one. You know, it was easy to pick that as my what I'm going to call God. So I call God Father. And the best thing I could do for my father is to help his kids. That's the best thing I can do, and I can do that in the program. So
I love that. Yeah.
that's why I'm connected to Dragon's Den in Inglewood's my home group, and I love those people. I love them. We're playing their picnic on the band's going to play there on Memorial Day.
When's that?
That'll be the Memorial Day at 1 p.m. Right after the noon meeting.
In with Dragon's Den?
3600 Clarkson.
I'll have to
in
get that
Inglewood,
information.
Colorado.
I want to go hear your band.
Yep, and it's a picnic, and I've wanted to play there for a long time, and we finally are. They've asked us, but just somebody's going out of town for the holiday if we weren't booked somewhere else. So this time we were able to arrange it, but yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Well, I'm going to have to go to Sober Underground and maybe that picnic, and because I'd love to hear your band. You had mentioned that you look back on life and you wish you'd done things different sometimes, and I do that too. And in fact, me and my oldest were talking about this just this morning. I can look back on things and wish, if only, and you can really get lost in that.
Yeah.
And the truth is. My oldest was looking at something on Facebook, and she goes, I feel like I'm just a failure because of that. And I'm like, no, you're not. I said, everybody's path is different, and we're not all meant to be highly educated. We're not all meant to have these great jobs where we're making millions of dollars. We all have our path, and it's a matter of living your life the best you can and using your circumstances to be who you're supposed to be and to be better. And had I not gone through the things I went through in my life, I wouldn't be where I'm at today. And and I, like you mentioned, you're more qualified, and this gives me the opportunity to help people that I probably wouldn't have even taken the time to recognize on the streets.
I would have turned don't look over there.
Yeah.
Don't look at those drunks.
Yeah.
Those could have, should have. So my sponsor buddy, I love him. I've been blessed with really good sponsorship. My first sponsor, Tom, was from Riverton, Wyoming. His sponsor was from Akron, worked with Dr. Bob. So I've always had a really good message. I've had really strong sponsorship, and currently my sponsor buddy, who's like a staple at the Dragon's Den. If anybody's ever been there, they're probably laughing right now. But he always says, Scotty, the coulda wouldas will kill you.
Right.
No coulda wouldas. And if I start doing that, he hits me right away.
Yeah.
So that I look back on that, and instead of looking back on what I could have done, I look at this is what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Where are my feet? You know, you can look at your feet if you're going there. Or in the future too, that'll get you too. That's anxiety lives in the future, regret lives in the past.
Yeah.
A lot of regret. There's good times too, but the best thing that lives in the past is my experience, which has this disease in it, and that's what I can use as a tool to help somebody else, because I can still relate to what we talked about today, and I can convey that on, and it's one of the best tools I have is my past. So when it says we don't wish to regret, or we don't want to shut the door on the past, right? We don't want to regret it. We don't want to shut the door on it because of that.
Right.
You know, and the pain, it's not painful to look at anymore. I've looked back there enough where,
right.
You know, it is, and things turned out, you know, and you know, my son ended up getting a stepdad who I didn't like at first, but he wasn't an alcoholic. He wasn't a bad guy. He was a really good guy. He taught my son how to ski. You know, the best of that came out of that.
Right.
You know, he wasn't abusive. You know, he's still with Alex's mother. He's taking care of her. She's got some issues, and I don't judge, but he's been there for her. So, you know, even when I look back at the worst thing in my life, it ended up being not such a bad thing when you look forward.
Yeah. The best thing that came for me is I'm no longer a slave to being a victim.
Yeah, me neither. Well, if you try, if you're working this program and you try to go back to victimhood, you know that you're lying. You just know it.
It's not the same. It's not the same.
No.
It's not such a comfortable place to be anymore. Yeah.
No, whenever I try it or try and point the finger again, it's like, Scott,
I try.
Nope, ain't gonna work.
Yeah, I have moments where I do try it,
and
I'm just like, what was my frickin' role? Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think a lot of us, I think what I've really come to realize that now, one of the biggest things as a human being, we like emotional security. We want to feel safe, right? And in doing that, our ego developed some pretty bad habits to make me feel safe. And I was a people pleaser. That was a big part of my life. And in doing that, it caused resentments. It caused, you know, me to be thinking now they're taking advantage of me and all this kind of stuff. But really, I kind of thought if you liked me, you're not going to hurt me.
Yeah.
And then Buddy and I read other books, and we're reading this book, and it's got some stuff on it. And this stuff, don't laugh, but the doctor's name is Dr. Horney, and Dr. Horney comes up with these emotional security models. And one of them is, if I keep you at a distance, meaning I boss you around, I'm in charge of you, and that person, you know, that likes to do that, if I'm in charge of you, can't hurt me emotionally.
Right.
So that's what I do. That's what my ego does. There's the people pleaser, which I am. I was for a very long time. Still can do it from time to time. But if I can get everybody to like me, they ain't gonna hurt me, right? And the other one is that person that just likes to isolate, hide under the radar. If they can't see me, they can't hurt me.
Right.
And that just really clicked. And I realized that my ego was really that thing that needed to protect me. It wasn't something that was bad. It was thought it was doing a good thing, but it overdoes everything.
Yeah.
And it overdid everything.
Yeah.
And I ended up the prodigal son, right?
Yeah.
I ended up, you know, messing everything up and moving away from my father. And then father took me back home and said, welcome. And that's the way it worked for me.
You ever heard the prodigal son in the key of F?
No.
No. I don't know. I don't know all of it. It's, Father, I have flunked. I have foolishly forfeited family favor. That's the fat and fat limb. Fawn Freighter has returned. Yeah, you never heard that?
No, that's
I love
awesome.
that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I am so glad that you did this today.
Yeah, me
Scott.
too. I'm glad you
learned
finally got to it. Yeah.
I know it was a little bit of a challenge, scheduling issues, but I'm really glad that you were here. You have a great story, and
Well, thank you.
I feel very blessed that you came and shared it with us. I hope that that you enjoyed Scott's story. I know it's going to help a lot of people. Please continue to watch these videos. If you are somebody that you love is struggling with addiction, please reach out to me. Your best life is waiting to happen. Connect with me. We're going to find it together. My email, my phone number, and you can also message me. They're all attached to this. I also would like for you to check out our YouTube page. Please subscribe. Please like, follow, comment on these videos. And you can help me help others by doing that. I hope everybody has a tremendous week, and I hope that you enjoyed your weekend. I hope that you get to enjoy the rest of your weekend.
Yep, you too.
And everybody have a great day.
Thank you.